This is the Mohsin Mortgage Program with Sarah Mohsin. Mohsin Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mohsin.
Good morning, folks. It's great to be back here again, and certainly a fantastic day. I just love the summers. Interest rates are at an all-time low, and feel free to give me a call anytime. I so look forward to the phone calls. It's exciting to hear about what your thoughts are about our program, about questions that you may have on purchasing your first home, your second home, or even a commercial property. And, of course, just in general, how to get back on track with your financial state and health. Carol, it's always great to have you with me. I have so much fun with you. You're just amazing.
Well, it's fun to laugh about money.
Sure is.
It's kind of a relief. And we've had some great weeks together. This one coming up, I'm really looking forward to as well, because I know you're going to have some guests with us as well. So It's going to be an awesome week. We're encouraging everybody on WROL and WEZE to listen in every day at the same time. You don't want to miss one of them. And my first question for you of the week is this, Sarah. Do you know some rich people?
Oh, sure. I'm looking at one. Carol.
My life is very rich. Now, do you know any monetarily rich people?
Well, I'll tell you what. The whole concept of money, really, it's all about your personal happiness as well. I mean, you have folks who may have millions of dollars, yet you may not feel that you're complete. And you may have good income and still not feel complete. I do believe that the number one thing is to make sure that you're healthy, that you're surrounded by your loved ones, and you're enjoying life. And that is really key. Money does interfere with your happiness, obviously, when you're looking at a situation where you may have student loan debt, or you're looking at some type of financial situation where you have to pay off some credit cards and you're unable to. It does create anxiety. So we try and get that stuff out of the way and fix it quickly, painlessly, because by prolonging the pain, it's only going to get worse. And the question is, just find out what you're dealing with. Don't hide. Don't run in fear. Don't feel as if you're going to be stuck in that place, because you're not.
Yeah.
It's just not the way life works.
Well, speaking of prolonging things, is it true that rich people live longer? Do they have better access to healthy foods or lifestyles or something that gives them a longer lifespan?
Not necessarily. Your lifespan and choices that you make with what you eat and what you do reflect really a lot of misconceptions, because people think that healthy food means it's more expensive, and it actually
it's
isn't.
Organic, or it's It
isn't. It's definitely not necessarily more expensive, and it certainly can apply to how your health is, because if you are in that top percentile of folks that are multimillionaires and you're making the wrong food choices, just like I had Sarah Warner, to my really good friend, on the air last week, your nutrition is 80%. So health really comes in play with what you're putting into your body and what fuels it. Mm-hmm. Your level of happiness is not necessarily the numbers that you have in your bank account, because the bottom line is, with the way we look at life, and all of us have at some point found ourselves going through challenging times and often feeling a little sad and lonely and wondering, is there anybody there who has shared that same place? And we all have. In fact, that is what builds us to where we are today, and to understand that we've all been in that place, and to basically find the person or a family member or somebody that you can talk to. And even if you want, you can always call me, you can always have that conversation and figure it out and see what is causing this, and is there something that we can do together to find a solution. The number one problem nowadays, literally, and it has been ongoing, is finances and communication and relationships. And that has ruined friendships, businesses, marriages.
And especially family businesses, right? I mean,
oh my goodness,
that's just loading the deck.
It has, and you really have to understand what is valuable. Number one, your biggest value is literally your family, your friends, and your relationships. Therefore, money, when it comes into play, you need to also approach it with a great deal of responsibility. And you also have to have open lines of communication to make sure that you're both on the same page. If you're lending or borrowing or working together on a project, or people flipping properties or buying homes together or moving in together and getting married, you have to know where that person is coming in to play with you. Yeah. The spender-saver syndrome, because these are things that are going to come up constantly in your life. It's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear. You can keep loving your husband, but if he's a spender and he's driving you nuts, or your wife who's
Yeah.
shopping but you don't know it,
Yeah.
it's not going to change. It's just behavior that needs to be addressed, and it's not necessarily bad or wrong. It's just that you both have to work together and meet in the middle.
Yeah, and there are ways of modifying your behavior to adapt to somebody else. It doesn't have to be catastrophic. It's like you were talking last week with Sarah about modifying your diet.
Right.
It doesn't have to be catastrophic. We don't have to cut out QVC altogether this week.
Exactly.
But we can find a way of living around things that we want to do if we have more money to work with. Refinancing is a great idea right now, and we're recommending to our listeners that they call Mohsin Mortgage Corporation to do that, because Sarah and her brother own this business. They've been doing it for a long time, and they're very down to earth. They're real people who will speak to you really on the phone. You won't be tossed around from one person to another, and nameless, faceless, variety of people that you often have to deal with at a bank. The Mohsin Mortgage Corporation has more than 30 wholesale lenders, so they can find a rate for you that works. They can find, maybe you need to move to an adjustable. Maybe you need to move to a fixed. Whatever it is, the best way to start off this process is by asking the questions. Just call Sarah, 800-662-9550. You can talk to her about if you have credit card debt, like we were talking about last week, if you're wondering if this is a proper time for you to refinance, if you're getting married soon and you want some good advice about how to broach the money question, Sarah will be happy to talk to you. Now, one of the big things, of course, that we're looking at this time of year is graduation.
Right.
Kids are coming out of college. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are coming out with student debt.
Yes.
How is that affecting the home sales market at all right now?
It certainly is, because you look at college education nowadays, and that's something you have to look forward to, Carol.
I got a little while yet.
People are coming out of college with $100,000 in debt. And you don't necessarily have to take that route. I watched a very interesting program about 2 days ago about a girl who was going to college, and she was spending approximately $40,000 a year. And it was putting her and her family in a situation that was just so draining financially. And I was really impressed with the fact that she made a decision to go to a state college, and the tuition was, I believe, $8,000 or $10,000.
Oh, my word.
A year.
Yeah.
So she had said, listen, I am not going to put my family in this very stressful situation, because firstly spending $40,000 for the first year, it was just not possible. It wasn't creating any kind of happiness for anybody, for that matter. It was very stressful, and she decided to move into a state college. Very happy, and I think that's a great decision. However, if you've already completed the 4 years,
yes,
and you owe the $100,000,
debt, yes,
how do you get approved for a loan such as a mortgage if you already have that debt and you've just started working, or you're working and it's your first year?
Yeah.
I have said to folks, with student loan debt, it's so huge, the crisis itself, because it is the number one issue right now that's facing this country, more than credit card debt. And the reality is that most parents have co-signed on these student loans with their family, with their kids. But ultimately, it may be the best thing for you to consolidate your current mortgage if you have a home as a parent with a 5% interest rate. Not only refinance your mortgage to a 3% rate that our wholesale lenders offer, but also look at the long term, where your son or your daughter that you've co-signed this loan for may not be able to pay that loan off, or may go into default, which will end up hurting your credit.
That's right. Yeah.
I always look at solutions before they actually end up occurring and bringing down your financial situation, because when you co-sign, the first thing that you have to understand is that you become responsible for that debt.
Right.
Should one party decide to be delinquent on paying that debt, your credit score gets hit as well. And especially with student loan debt right now, the rates are higher than most mortgage rates. So you could actually not only just refinance your mortgage as a parent, but also pay off the student loan debt if you wish, or a portion of it, or take equity out so that you can maintain the payments until your son or daughter gets work and is back on their feet. Because the economy, unfortunately, is not allowing kids to get jobs.
No. Like we've talked about before, it's not just because kids are lazy or that, honestly, it's tough. It's tough to get a job.
It is.
And to build a resume in this environment it's uphill. How about, because I know this happens, I have some friends who are coming out of college, and they want to get married right away. And they each have student debt.
Right.
Should they wait?
I think that the ideal situation is to not put added stress into the relationship.
Yeah.
When it comes to finances and you already have this huge debt, and now you're looking at a second sort of debt that's going to be created through wedding and celebrations, etc., which is all fine. But you need to be realistic as well, because you don't want to start your life out with $200,000 in debt or even $100,000 in debt. I'm all about getting married and having a family, but you also have to see where you are financially and with the job aspect of it. If you are employed and you're making good income, then obviously you are in that position to think about a wedding and having that amazing, big wedding that you want of your dreams. I just see this over and over again with people, that they get themselves involved and carried away with these great things that occur in our life, which is the weddings and the engagement and the honeymoons. And at the end of the day, when it's over, it all comes crashing down because all the bills show up and you still have to pay it.
Did I ever tell you what my wedding cost? Have we had this discussion?
No, you never did.
A lot of people think I'm very funny. $2,500.
That's
Now, granted,
fantastic.
That was 22 years ago, and that was that. But still, we just decided that we were going to do the best we could do with what we had, and that was going to have to be it. And I, honestly, for all I talk about getting married again and doing it all differently, I wouldn't. I don't think that I would, because we did the things that were important to us, and the rest really didn't matter. However, I realize that we're in the minority there. So, there is an opportunity, though, for those families who are trying to work together, whether it's parents helping out their kids with student loans, or if you're somebody who's just got out of school and you do have a job and a couple of credit cards that make you look pretty good on paper, maybe it's time to go for that first house. These are all questions you can ask Sarah Mohsin at the Mohsin Mortgage Corporation, 800-662-9550. She'll take stock of your situation where you are right now and make a determination with you and give you some good advice and pointers down the road. We do recommend that you tune in tomorrow, because tomorrow's guest is going to be Gretchen Crass, and she's a professional athlete and also a judge of figure competitions. So this is probably somebody you haven't heard from before. Be sure to tune in tomorrow.
This has been the Mohsin Mortgage Program with Sarah Mohsin. Mohsin Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.